Hello, I'm Mark Blunden and this is the Standards Tech and Science Daily. Coming up, hopes that a simple robot peg task could help boost EV battery recycling. But first, Apple is facing a US government lawsuit accusing the tech giant of creating an illegal monopoly that stifles competition for the iPhone. The antitrust action filed by the Justice Department in New Jersey's federal court alleges the tech giant has used control over its smartphone ecosystem to boost financial control, leading to higher consumer prices. Examples cited include the lack of compatibility between iOS messages and other tech ecosystems, and iPhone users being limited to the Wallet app for making payments. Apple says it will fight the case and that its tech sets Apple products apart in fiercely competitive markets. Next, earlier this week, Tech and Science Daily reported on a humanoid robot now equipped with artificial intelligence that's completing simple choice tasks, but the march of the droids is being stalled by some very simple problems which might in fact be child's play, including putting a peg in a hole and removing it again, all without damage. But why? Now, a study led by a University of Birmingham PhD student hopes to streamline the process of reconditioning goods to as-new condition, including electric car batteries, by improving robots' tactile skills for a process known as remanufacturing.
In industry, we have a peg hole problem. During the disassembly, we need to avoid a damage of the parts. When we want to extract the peg from the hole, if we had more forces, maybe the product is broken. So it should be very soft and compliant. And during the disassembly, is a more common issue is the jamming.
That's Farzaneh Goli, a PhD student and expert in the robotics disassembly process, whose research paper has been published by the Royal Society.
Our research investigated to geometric and aesthetic forces in the dual peg hole extraction, and we use the compliance manipulator because it's very useful for user robot work with human. And active compliance in robot reduce the jamming force in the disassembly process.
The study says that automating disassembly can reduce labour costs and make remanufacturing more economically attractive.
In this research, we made a generalized force extraction. After that, when we use the AI, it should be very soft, very smart.
Their lab tests found that slight tweaks, including to the robot arm's stiffness and positioning, can significantly reduce disassembly forces. So what are the hopes for the study's future commercial applications?
We use the KUKA robot. That kind of research is very useful for the disassembly battery, lithium battery for the car factory.
Now, a transplant patient is said to be recovering well and is ready for hospital discharge after receiving a pig's kidney in the first operation of its kind. The organ was genetically modified in a bid to reduce the risk that it would be rejected by 62-year-old Rick Slayman's body in a 4-hour procedure at Massachusetts General Hospital. Slayman previously had a failed human kidney transplant in 2018 after being on dialysis for 7 years after his own kidneys no longer functioned properly. There's a chronic shortage of human donor organs, and this latest operation follows a pig-to-human heart transplant where the patient lived for 2 months before the heart failed and he died. Next, researchers in London are seeking to develop the world's first vaccine to prevent lung cancer in people who are at high risk of the disease. Scientists from the Francis Crick Institute, University College London and Oxford University have created LungVax, a vaccine that activates the immune system to kill cancer cells and to stop lung cancer. The vaccine uses a strand of DNA which trains the immune system to identify any red flag proteins in lung cancer cells, known as neoantigens, and kill them. Clinical trials are planned if the vaccine is shown in lab tests to trigger an immune response. Now, the United Nations General Assembly has approved a resolution to shield personal data and monitor artificial intelligence for potential risks, including scams and breach of human rights. The resolution proposed by the US is non-binding but was agreed upon by 193 UN member nations and co-sponsored by non-members from 123 countries, including China and Russia. The resolution to protect people's data and human rights comes amid growing concerns about AI's reliability. The White House called the resolution a historic step to ensuring trustworthy advancements in artificial intelligence. Let's go to the ads. Stay there for more news from the world of tech and science, plus why drivers are shunning distracting touchscreens in favour of buttons. Why not hit follow in the meantime and give us a rating. Welcome back. University of York researchers have uncovered plastic pollution from chemicals found in frying pans at 2 archaeological digs from the Roman and Viking eras. The team analysed soil samples taken from 2 sites that yielded massive amounts of historical finds, both in 1989 from Wellington Row and the Queen's Hotel in York. They used a technique called Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy to identify the rogue materials. Researchers found more than 25,000 instances of the tiny microplastics contaminating samples, likely to have come from industry, agriculture and transport. And finally, a study by What Car finds drivers prefer their vehicles with physical buttons, levers and switches over touchscreen controls in order that they can keep their eyes on the road. Nearly 90% of motorists said they would rather drive a car with buttons, citing safety as the main issue. It comes as the motoring industry safety body Euro NCAP announced it would update its rules to encourage car makers to install more conventional buttons as opposed to the trend of all controlling touchscreens. You're up to date. Come back at 4 p.m. for the latest news, interviews and analysis from the Standard podcast here in London, and we'll be back on Monday at 1 p.m.